So the mole wasn't Mike Pence.
I think it is. I think the
but
vice
he
president.
denied it.
Well, his person denied it and said that he only pens his name to the kinds of opinions that he writes. He puts his name on there. So
seems to me,
what?
It's not against the law to lie in the public.
Right.
It's just against the law to lie in a court of law.
Right, exactly. So they lie. Everybody lies.
Right.
I think it's interesting. I do think it's the vice president. It's a way for him to speed up his dream or his destination.
Oh my God! And his destination is the White House?
Yes. I think Mike Pence wants to be president.
Yikes.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if he is the mole. There is a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like, it is beyond, you wake up and it's as if you went into a room and there was no oxygen and you're trying to catch your breath. That's kind of how it's been.
Right.
By the way, we want people to comment on our Behind the Media show, but we want
to do shout-outs to people.
Yeah, we'll give you shout-outs. So if you comment...
Well, unlike whoever wrote that op-ed,
that's right. If you add your name,
we will name who you are.
We will name who you are. We'll give you a shout out.
I'd give you a shout out.
That's right. Not only on the live streaming, but it'll show up on our podcast, which thousands of people are embracing. So you want to get your name out there. Comment on our show. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know. Do you have a comment as well about the show in general, not just the Behind the Media stuff, but reach out to us.
And just remember.
Yeah. What?
We are people too. I'm a sensitive dude.
We want your love.
I really do.
Give us a big hug. Well, actually, give Jimmy a hug. I don't like being hugged.
I definitely need a hug.
That's creepy.
Sorry.
Hug stuff is creepy. We're ready to go.
We're ready to go.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks, and in the field, they've seen and covered it all, and now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator,
I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
not a gong, a bong.
A bong.
With a B.
That's right. I said
the
gong.
Gong is a
That's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
bong.
makes noise.
Bong. Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying which one do you want to be. Scoop inside the White House. A tell-all opinion piece causes a firestorm, and a book by Watergate's Bob Woodward adds more fuel to the fire.
Nike takes a stand on Colin Kaepernick. Will it damage the brand? Is that Nike's brand or Colin Kaepernick's brand? Anyway, wait until you hear about the knockoff by Trump Jr.
Facebook and privacy. A new survey finds young people are getting stricter, even dumping the service to protect their information, while a lot of us older folks are flying blind.
Sorry, I'm blind. Okay, and plus bites behind the media, including Monica Lewinsky walking off a set, the value of a media endorsement, and Twitch attracting big money.
Go to your closet, grab some comfortable shoes, and lace them up. We're about to take you on a tough walk through a crazy media landscape.
That's where the bell goes.
That's where the bell goes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So, Jimmy.
Yes?
Just when we thought we had heard it all.
No.
That's
why we do this show every week.
At some point, we have to stop saying just when we thought we had heard it all.
Indeed.
Because every day that we wake up, there's another bombshell, another shoe drops that any one of those would have been historic in nature. And they're big, and we say, okay, something bigger is going to come tomorrow. And
Right.
it is just fascinating. And, of course, the first thing
What are we talking about here, Dan?
exactly. We're talking about President Trump and the opinion piece by somebody.
Mr. Anonymous.
Mr. Anonymous. Or Mrs. Anonymous. Or Miss Anonymous.
And by the way,
yes.
everybody gets fired from the Trump administration, right?
Yes,
so
everyone
this
does.
anonymous source couldn't
Right.
put his name out there because he or she did not want to get fired.
Well, I think it's even bigger than that. You get buried.
Right.
You not only get fired, you get buried.
Yeah. Then you write a book.
And
then you go on
write
a lecture
book.
tour.
Yeah,
and it's
but
the American way.
But then, and of course, maybe it becomes a little dangerous for you out on the streets, because if you buck the president, as we've seen with some reporters out there who were just reporting what they should be, then people start harassing them. So life can become a little crazy if you put your name out there. But clearly, according to the New York Times, they know who this person is, and they took extraordinary steps to ensure that that person's privacy would be protected. Unlike Facebook in some cases.
That's right. And he's surprised that it was the New York Times, by the way.
Right. No surprise there at all.
Right.
We were talking about this before Behind the Media. I think it's the vice president, even though his office has denied that he is the source of this opinion.
And the
piece.
reason why you think that is?
Well, I think he has ambition, that he
Okay.
wants to be president, and I think that he has been very quiet of late. It seems as if, he is just kind of working
He's
behind
distancing himself as much as possible from the guy.
I think so. And he doesn't want any of the ugly to splash on him. And then maybe he undermines the president with this big bombshell, and then he steps in. That's my. Do you have another candidate?
Of course I do.
Oh, who?
No, I don't have another candidate, but
Oh.
I have another source. Source? Someone else was talking. Let me rephrase this.
Yes,
Let me
go ahead.
back in time.
Take two.
All
Take
right.
two.
There are people in the media that are saying some of the phraseology
Yes.
in the op-ed piece are similar to the phraseologies that Mike Pence uses.
Right. So that would be indicative of him being the source.
Right. That would
But-
be
but then,
guilty by reason of association.
But wouldn't you think that if you were going to be this person leaking this or putting this out through the New York Times, that you would get an expert, like maybe your lawyer, or even, since they know who the person is.
I think Michael Cohen's available, by the way.
Right, exactly. you would scrub all references to anything that might indicate that
you.
it is you.
Right.
So if you normally said you wouldn't do that.
Right.
Not that you would put that in writing,
Right.
but whatever little ticks that you might have, you would de-tick it, so
Yes.
no one would find out.
You would edit yourself.
Right. I do think it was interesting, and I don't know if you caught this, Jimmy, but someone from the New York Times put out a tweet, and the tweet mentioned he. It was the first time that a sex was added to it, to which the tweet was brought down, and the New York Times, someone from the New York Times said, this person who put that out has no knowledge whether it's a he or a she, and inadvertently put this out there. Frankly, I think there was a mistake, and that's what they're using to cover it. But I think that's kind of interesting that they assumed it was a he, or did they know it was a he?
How can you actually work in that White House, write this, and then show up to work the next day?
You have to be very good. So so maybe it's either the vice president who, when he shows up for work, probably doesn't see the president, number
Right.
one, or it's someone from the national security kind of, world where they know a lot of crap that's going on and can keep a stone face so no one can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
that's an option.
yeah,
That's what I think.
It could be. I mean, but when you write something anonymously,
Yes.
and by the way, what a shock that the president, the POTUS himself, called it gutless.
Gutless for
Right.
putting something out without attaching your name to
Which
it.
a lot of journalists do say whenever you have unnamed sources, it tends to take away from the veracity of the quote.
But in this case, I mean, I think if you have something like this, that's accurate, if in fact it is, and it is so damning that you can't put your name to something like this, but there is a greater good, supposedly, at least according to the author, by putting this information out there.
And the whole spin is that there are people inside this White House who are doing whatever they can amongst themselves
Right.
to keep the POTUS away from certain documents or
Right.
reacting to certain things. They're actually curating the information that's shared with the president.
Right, and it doesn't appear that they dislike the president. They don't. It's not as
Who
if
likes this guy?
But the sense here is that they are trying to make him in a way look good and prevent him from doing bad things.
Because he does that all the time.
Because he does it all the time. I'll read a portion of it. We can't read the whole thing. And by the way, I'm taking off my glasses here, which shows a little bit about what's happening with my age, although I have up close 20/20. So that's what I like to brag about.
Thrilled to hear that.
Yes.
I'm sure our audience is too.
Exactly.
I'm sure they'll be writing in next week. Sorry.
So here's a part of it. President Trump is facing a test to his presidency unlike any faced by a modern American leader. It's not just that the special counsel looms large or that the country is bitterly divided over Mr. Trump's leadership, or even that his party might well lose the House to an opposition hell-bent on his downfall. The dilemma, which he does not fully grasp, is that many of the senior officials in his own administration are working diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. I would know. I'm one of them. Not me, Dan Lothian, but this is the person speaking here, the anonymous.
I'm glad that you cleared that up.
I wanted to clear that up for those who are listening.
Because you were not part of the people I thought
I'm not one of the candidates.
No, you're not.
To be clear, ours is not the popular resistance of the left. We want the administration to succeed and think that many of its policies have already made America safer and more prosperous. But we believe our first duty is to this country. And the president continues to act in a manner that is detrimental to the health of our republic. That is why many Trump appointees have vowed to do what we can to preserve our democratic institutions while thwarting Mr. Trump's more misguided impulses until he is out of office. Wow.
When is that going to happen? That's all I can say.
I have never. My son, when he was little,
well,
used
you
to
remember
always
Nixon.
Say,
you remember the days of the final days of Nixon.
Final days. I don't know that this is the final days because, frankly, I thought final days was before he got elected.
Right.
When a lot of bombshells were coming out. So I'm not saying this is final days. What I'm saying, though, is I ain't never seen anything like this before.
No, none of us have ever seen a POTUS like this before either.
This is some crazy
this is
stuff.
Unique. This is something different. I find it interesting that it is Robert Mueller that is the biggest, the one who perhaps can put the POTUS in his place, and of course everyone's telling him not to testify if Robert Mueller asks him to,
right?
Which is going to be rather interesting because that means I think he's in contempt, is he not?
But I don't know he can be forced to as president.
That's right, as a president.
As a president can't be forced to. I think. Look, Jimmy, this is this isn't journalism; it's an opinion piece, but it is in the New York Times. I think it's fascinating that someone within the White House or a group of people within the White House feel as if this is sort of the avenue of last resort, right? So presumably they've tried to talk the president off the ledge many times, that they've tried to talk to those around him more closely, intimately, maybe family members. I would think that they've tried many different things before they said, there's nothing else that we can do to stop the president from doing what he's doing unless we go public with it. This is unprecedented.
Yeah.
I mean, we always get, there's information that sources leak to reporters to get information out there with the hope of it leading to some kind of change because they've tried to talk it through and it doesn't work. But to actually pen an essay, if you will, and put it out there in its full form, unveiling all of the underbelly of what's going on inside the White House is just fascinating. We're in uncharted waters.
Yes, we
right
are.
now.
Well, are we in uncharted waters? Because I find it rather interesting, perhaps coincidental, that it was Bob Woodward's book Fear that came out in the same week as this op-ed.
Yeah. So what are you saying?
I'm saying there's a conspiracy going on here.
Which is what the Trump administration is saying.
Well, there's a opposite conspiracy. Could there be a movement? There's something going on. A lot of people think that the clock is ticking now, if it wasn't already, right?
Right.
The
clock was ticking before the clock even had batteries in
That's
it.
right. Yes, it did.
It's called a pre-tick tick.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the bell tolled. And we have him in the White House now, and I'm not quite sure how we're ever going to get him out of there. But it's very interesting, the whole timing of the release of this book.
You're right.
And the timing of the op-ed. I mean, am I the only one thinking this?
Well, from Trump's perspective, it was all done to muddy the conversation around his Supreme Court nominee.
Oh my God!
Somehow
he is
that
so
was going to
full
get
of himself. I think that is such a. And I'm not. I know that there are some people out there who don't think I'm pretty naive and all this, but I just don't think that the Supreme Court nominee. I just don't think that has only
that this had anything to do with it.
No, I don't.
But it is suspect.
Unfortunately, this is going to be a lasting legacy of this guy in the White House.
Right.
He has nominated this guy. I really do believe he's going to get approved.
Of course he is.
He's going to get approved, and that's going to be Trumpy boys, one check.
Which is fine. That's an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment. You know what? He rigged the election. He should get something out of it.
I don't know if he rigged it.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that?
He didn't. He got elected.
He got elected.
And this is a legitimate accomplishment. I think, though, that those who dislike the media, when they look at things like this by Bob Woodward, and I'll read an excerpt, or at least a little explainer from his book here in a second, and this op-ed, they have plenty of ammunition to say, you guys all colluded to bring down the president. I don't think there's any truth to that. But believe me, there are a lot of those kind of claims that have been made about with less evidence than this.
Yeah, I don't think that there's an actual... I don't think they have meetings and have a strategy to influence.
Okay, New York Times,
I just don't think
collusion meeting.
But there's enough, because he is so polarizing and such a narcissist and such a fill in the blank here, okay? Whatever word you'd like to use, okay? That I just think that everyone is trying to figure out how to stop it.
Right.
It's like enough already.
Right. No, they are, but I think the timing of it is you go to press with a book when it's ready to go to press. You might rush it if you think it's Christmas time and you can sell more copies kind of thing, but I don't know that there's any real grand scheme here. I think it's just a matter of this is when it all happened.
So this was a coincidence.
I think it is. I don't know that it is.
Okay.
I think it is.
Okay.
So,
you want to think that it is too?
No, I don't want to think that it is. I just think that it is.
Okay.
It just becomes so complicated. As you were saying, there isn't this collusion meeting that happens, and that the New York Times sit down.
Okay,
and so forth.
September 5th, we're going to release this op-ed.
Right. And now, here's how you could connect the threads. You could say that Mr. Anonymous or Miss Anonymous or whoever it is
knew when the book was coming out.
The book was coming out because Anonymous participated in the book as a source, right?
Right.
And so the source probably knows exactly, the book's coming out or whatever, and says, now's the time for me to level this. So that's where I think there's some connection. Do I know that? Of course I don't know that, but that's what I think.
I think it's Deep Throat's grandson.
I think it is. It's the grandson, and that's the person who started the deep state, whatever that is. But so here's an interesting description of what's going on with the book. President Donald Trump's closest aides have taken extraordinary measures in the White House to try to stop what they saw as his most damaging, I guess, information that he's put out there, damaging what things that he has tried to do in his administration, going so far as to swipe and hide papers from his desk so he wouldn't sign them. This is according to the new book by legendary journalist Bob Woodward. It's a 448-page book called Fear, Trump in the White House, and it provides an unprecedented inside-the-room look through the eyes of people inside the president's inner circle. There are people who are attacking Woodward, but you know what? People attacked him when he came out with a book on the Obama administration. And he had a lot of interesting things to say about the conflict within the White House, about the president's hopes for handling Afghanistan versus some of his officials who were fighting him. It was a lot of ugly infighting about Afghanistan, and he put out that information through his book. I remember seeing Woodward when I was working at the White House coming out of the West Wing, and I said, something's about ready to drop here. You knew he was getting these interviews, and people always ask, why do people talk to Bob Woodward? Is that a question you've asked before? Like, why would you even give an interview to Bob Woodward?
Well, I think that you can make that, you could say that same thing about a lot of writers out there.
But Woodward in particular, why would people open up and give him this information and then later see it and freak out about it? So the answer is this. You don't want to be left out, right? You know that he's going to get the information, and he's going to get the information about you from somebody else. So before he gets to that,
go to the source.
I'm going to tell him. And hopefully he'll be kinder to me. That's the strategy.
According to this guy, Dwight Garner, who wrote this article, he talks about Fear as the book. He says it's rather typical of Bob Woodward's style because he doesn't really name sources for scenes, thoughts, and quotations only appear sometimes. So if you read between the lines here, and he's also saying he's not a very graceful writer. He's kind of wooden.
Hey, you can call it whatever you want. But
facts, by the way, for the most part, should be wooden.
And
there should be no emotion in facts.
Right,
this is a fact.
But he is Woodward, so why wouldn't he be wooden?
Oh, I get it. Oh, that was a joke.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Really bad.
But it was good. It was corny, but it was
good.
pretty
All
good.
right, I'll let you get away with it.
It was a play on words.
That's right.
Of corniness.
My friend Mike Adams would be very proud of you because he loves to do the double. He loves to play with words and double meanings and all that.
Did you like
stuff.
That one, Stephen? That's fine.
A little hollow for me.
A little hollow. I like it.
Right, Steve. All right. We move on.
No, but you're right. But here's the one thing that you cannot say about Bob Woodward and in the past is that he's always been right. Like, I don't know, you could, maybe he's made some errors or what. He turns out to be right more often than not.
That's right.
So you can be upset about but he's said bad stuff about the Obama administration. He's now saying stuff about this administration, but his facts usually turn out to be correct.
And it says members of his staff had joined to purposely block some of what they believe were the president's most dangerous impulses.
Right.
You talk about managing your manager.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
This is exactly what they're doing in that. And they have a manager who is just nuts.
Right.
Okay.
But it sounds like they
care
about
nervous breakdown of the executive power, I think, is
that was a good one.
That's a great line. And it's also kind of scary in a lot of ways, too.
Well, it is scary.
This is one of the reasons why I think that there might. Do you think they're going to invoke the 25th Amendment after the midterm elections? Do you think this can happen, Dan?
I don't know. But here's what I will say. I feel a lot better that there is this group, this mysterious group there. Because here's the thing. I want the president to succeed. If it means job creation, if it means, denuclearizing, North Korea. I mean, these are all really impactful things that can really happen. I mean, the latest news is that North Korea has said that they're going to pull back, denuclearize by the end of his term, Trump's term. These are all things that I want to happen. I don't care who the president is, even if it's Trump. I want this stuff to happen. The issue is, in these people who are
I think it would have happened without.
Well, it doesn't matter, but he can take credit for it if he wants. I feel very comfortable in knowing that there's this group there because they want some of his best policies to succeed. And they just don't want some of the crazy stuff to happen, which I think most Americans...
shut off his darn Twitter account please?
You could start there.
And by the way, where are these people? You know what they call the presidential bed? That's where he goes to do his tweeting.
Where? The bathroom?
The presidential bedroom.
Oh, the bedroom. I thought the bathroom was the place that he did that.
Which would make more sense.
Which makes more sense, right. I think that it's wonderful that there are people there who want the policies that the president ran on. Some of them. Now, I'm not embracing everything, but some of the things that he talked about that are to make the middle class get jobs again, all of these things, they are supporting BS, those
Dan.
things. No, but it doesn't matter if it's BS. I'm saying if they in fact want those things to move forward and they are hoping and helping to push that agenda forward, I think that's a good thing. If they're trying to prevent the craziest of the crazy impulses from happening, I think that's a great thing as well. So I'm comfortable in knowing that there's this group there.
You feel better about being an American, that there's some...
Yes.
There are some people there.
There are grown-ups.
Dealing with this little 2-year-old in the White House.
They're grown-ups
who's calling
with degrees.
people names and is a blatant... blank, 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 because after all, there's so many things that he fills in blanks with.
Right.
And he fills every one of them.
Yes. No, I think that
he's a bad human, Dan.
Look, I think, and it's not just Trump. I think there have been certainly he has certain characteristics that are different from other presidents, but I think that there are other presidents.
You are so political. Certain characteristics that are different. Right. Like actually being a nice guy, being knowing how to actually talk to different people from different races would be a beginning.
I think he has some challenges in those areas.
You think?
But I think that there are other presidents who have been protected from themselves, maybe not to the extreme that we know about with this.
Yes.
But there have been other presidents where they've been protected from themselves. But now we're seeing how the sausage is being made.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
Well,
okay, he's a bad man in a powerful position, and you feel better that there are people that are mature enough around him to try to keep him in check.
Wow, Jimmy. Life in the fast lane.
Wow.
Did you like this episode? Let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And let us hear your questions and comments by reaching out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Nice long bell ring. Nike takes a stand on Colin Kaepernick. Will it damage Nike's brand or even his brand? Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon, Jimmy's Premium's men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So the Nike ad,
great ad. Have you seen on Beyond?
I have seen it.
It was extremely well done.
It was extremely well done. They released this, and basically the ad marks the 30th anniversary of the "Just Do It" slogan. I didn't realize that it's been 30 years. And it features a tight shot, a close-up of Kaepernick's face with these words imposed over it. Quote, "Believe in something." Uh-oh, I lost the rest of it. Do you see it there, Jimmy? Believe in something,
even if it means sacrificing everything.
Followed by Nike's hashtag slogan, hashtag Just Do It.
Just do it.
What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I identify with their theme. I'll be honest, and this again, I love being honest on this because whatever. Tell me what I say doesn't make any sense to you. I'm not a Nike fan. Never have been for 30 years. I don't think I've ever I bought one pair of Nikes when they first came out.
I'm a Nike.
Nikes.
I have been a Nike only fan. I'd say a 99%.
Okay,
Nike
and you
fan.
know about their youth labor practices.
Yes,
and all
I
that.
do. And you know what? And maybe this is hypocritical of me. Find me a company that doesn't do the same thing.
I think actually Adidas Reebok doesn't, and they're my favorite brand.
That we know of.
But
Right.
we know of the Nike one.
Well,
so
true.
And I'll tell you another
that's
reason.
the thing. Everyone is doing garbage.
Okay, fair enough.
Garbage.
That being said,
Yes.
That being said, it's a very narrow sneaker. If you have a
It
wide
is.
foot,
I have a narrow foot.
then that makes sense for you.
Yes.
If
so
the
it's
shoe
worked
fits,
well. The shoe.
just do it.
If the shoe fits, wear it.
That's
and
right.
so I've been wearing Just Do It.
And I only wear Adidas.
I like
and
Adidas as well.
New Balance and Adidas are my brands
New
of
Balance.
choice.
I've had New Balance. If it's a good price for the shoe, I'll buy it. I'm not. I'll go to other shoes. I'm not a shoe agnostic.
Okay.
But I have been over time because of the narrow foot have done the Nike shoe.
Let's talk about Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand about this guy, who he is, what he's about, and why he has become the face of the
movement.
The movement, yeah, but it's really brought a lot of attention to the social injustices in this world faced by African American people
In
this
particular,
country.
having to deal with
Correct.
law enforcement.
And think about it. Colin Kaepernick was an NFL quarterback.
Yes.
He is
not
good.
He was a good NFL quarterback.
He had a good season, but
Right.
is really slotted as a backup quarterback because
But
he's
he
more
was
athletic.
He was one play away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yes, he was.
So good has to be part of the conversation. Not great, not good all the time, but he was good in the playoffs.
Certainly employable.
He was good in the playoffs.
Certainly
Why don't you want to
employable.
say good?
Because I don't think he's that good. I just don't. I
but
don't.
Can
A
you have
quarterback.
can you have a good game?
Yes.
Can you have a good playoff?
Yes.
Can you have a series of
Can you
good
manage a
games?
game plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
He did all of that.
Correct.
And was within a
And
play
he still
of
can-
winning
and
the
he's-
top.
and he-
So he was good at the time.
At the time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. At the
Thank
time.
you. At the time, he
and
was
now
good. I finally found
and
a
now
way
is
to get you to say good.
unemployed in the NFL.
Right.
Is suing the NFL for collusion because they believe that
And he won. He won a part of this in the whole legal process.
he
The
won
case-
a legal process.
A legal process.
that it can go to court.
It can go right. So there is some validity. Obviously,
Yes.
there's some evidence
Correct.
out there
Absolutely.
that there was collusion. Again,
Correct.
we're using this word quite a bit lately.
Yes, we
by
are.
the NFL teams to keep him from playing
Yes.
when he was better than some
And
of the backups
and
that were out there.
Correct. And I do think it is really looking at if you're a business owner, do you bring in an employee who is going to create
Distraction.
distraction?
Right. Okay.
And at this point, the millions of dollars that you might be paying this employee may not make up for what the cost in PR it's going to be. Geez,
Exactly.
I almost wiped out the coffee all over you. That would have been nasty.
That's right. Now,
But it
speaking
would have
about
been a great
PR,
blooper.
was this a good move by Nike to do this media campaign?
Well, the way that by surrounding Colin Kaepernick with Serena Williams,
Yes.
LeBron James, and some of these other amazing stories in sports, which, by the way, sports is just great about that. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being a dreamer, right? You can believe in yourself. You can outwork people. Even if you have a challenge, whether it's a learning challenge or a physical challenge, you can still dream, believe in yourself, and overcome those odds.
That's right.
Those are the best stories.
That's what sports is all about.
That's why you just do it. And I give Nike a lot of credit for really
You don't wear
grabbing
their
onto
shoes,
this.
but you like their tagline.
I love their commercials. It's
Yes.
Whedon and Kennedy is the ad agency. I just think they did a great job. But I mean, you look at it, there's the wrestler, Isaiah Bird. If you've never seen a story on this kid that is a wrestler with no legs, it's one of the most incredible. You can't keep a dry eye by watching that story. You've got a wheelchair basketball player. You've got the kids that are oh God! I saw images of I'll say city kids playing soccer. There are.
It tugs at your heart.
It tugs at your heart. I can't watch stuff like that without getting emotional because I'm a mush.
You're a
I'm a mush.
Yeah,
I'm a
you
mush.
get emotional watching a lizard cross the street.
No, well, if it was a dream of a lizard to get across the street
and
without
if the
getting
lizard gets
smushed,
run over.
yeah, I mean, I can handle that. But anyway, Colin Kaepernick, it's a very interesting thing because he's already become more, even if he won that Super Bowl, Dan, he would not have the impact on the world as he is right now.
True, but Nike now jumping in on this with this media campaign adds another layer of credibility, if you will, to his side.
Legitimacy.
Legitimacy.
Absolutely, 100%.
And here's the thing. Here's why I don't think this will hurt their brand.
By the way, their stock did take a little bit of a dive.
It did, but I think it will be made up for. I saw some things on social media by people saying, like you, I'm not a Nike person, but there was one person that's pretty funny. They don't wear tennis shoes. They said, do they have any flip-flops that I can buy? Because this person's from South Florida.
And yes, they do have flip-flops.
And I thought, yes, they do have flip-flops. So you can support them that way. I think they'll more than make up for it by people who will be so impressed with this campaign that they will buy into it, if you will. I also think that when you look at predominantly who is playing in the NFL, African Americans, many in the NBA, African Americans, although a big number of people now coming from overseas. But I think that if that is your audience already, those are the people buying your tennis shoes and so forth. I don't know that this kind of campaign will damage you at all.
No, and in fact, Nike, I think they're already reporting that it's had $43 million worth of value of this commercial. And if you happen to tune into the NFL tonight, the first football game of the year is, I hate to date our little podcast, but it would be Thursday night. Yeah. And if you happen to tune into the U.S. Open tennis this weekend, or I think there's one other big event going on. And I think if you tune in any of those, you will see this commercial. It is a powerful commercial. It really does remind me of the first Tiger Woods ad, Hello World.
Oh, yeah.
Powerful images. And it goes to, we were talking about our teaching experiences this week because we both are adjunct instructors at a couple of schools. Storytelling is what I'm tasked with at Dean College. It's telling stories with audio and video and eliciting an emotional response from your audience.
So the question is this.
Goal.
Does Nike really care about this issue and Colin Kaepernick? Or did Nike marketing geniuses
take advantage of them?
Yeah, sit around a room and go, let's just do it.
Who could be the perfect person to use? And it really wasn't difficult. They didn't have to spend a lot of time at night thinking about this.
I mean, when was the last time you spoke about Nike to this extent? The last time they did something, I can't remember, but the last time they did something controversial.
Right.
I see this. Everyone's like, oh, this is Nike.
I don't buy Nike shoes. I don't buy those Nike shoes. First off, it was because they were thin. Second of all, I found out about their youth labor practices. Third, I just don't like how they exploit the inner city kids because they make these sneakers, $400 a pair, and you have to buy them. They have to kill to get them. That's taking the American dream a little bit too far.
I agree, and I don't want to make light of that, even though I said what I said earlier, which is, everybody's doing it. I do agree with you that that's not right.
Right.
That if young kids are being exploited to make products,
right?
If inner city
is
kids
Colin
are being
Kaepernick being exploited to sell sneakers here?
I think yes.
Yeah,
I think he is being exploited. I think that's sort of what big companies do.
That's America,
right? The example I was just trying to make is that there are a lot of companies doing some ugly stuff, but when people are attaching all this stuff, the Nike's finally has the guts to stand up for. No, this is marketing.
Well,
it's
101,
marketing
baby.
101.
Right.
It's trying. You do something to get people to talk about you and your products, and maybe you piss off some people, but maybe you bring in even more new people who never came to your brand. And that's what I think ultimately this is about.
I would love to hear, because it's a publicly traded company, I would love to hear the internal Nike address to the stockholders.
Wouldn't that before they came out?
Before they came out with
this.
And to hear the conversation
I'd
in the
love
room.
to be part. I should have invested in there just so I could be in that room.
Right. And
unfortunately.
But again, America, very powerful commercial.
Yeah, it is.
It gives you I don't know. I don't know if it's hope as much as it is attention to the fact that there are still people out there who can dream and can fulfill those dreams through hard work, perseverance, and, to be honest, a little bit of luck.
And wouldn't we all want a little bit of luck?
Yes.
Hey, we'd love to hear what you think about this. Maybe your take's like mine or more like Jimmy's. Let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And also send us those questions or comments by tapping into your keyboard, info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. I said keyboard as if that's what people use. It's probably more tapping onto a screen than a keyboard.
Yeah, I think there's
some people.
More communication. Here's a great question, a rhetorical question. As we head into halftime. We're in halftime,
yes,
right?
We're in halftime,
okay.
Yes.
Where do you think more communication is being done today? Is it being done on a laptop?
Bing.
Or a phone?
Bing. I would say phone. I'd say or some kind of mobile device.
Skews towards the millennials on the phone and mobile side, doesn't
Keyboards are in offices, not in rooms and on the road.
Yeah, and I'll call a tablet a keyboard too, because I think that they've morphed into that.
I think you're right.
It's a giant phone.
I got on an elevator yesterday. There were probably 7 people on the elevator. I was the only one who did not have my face shoved inside my device.
Wow.
Everyone else was. One person was making an appointment to something out loud. Will 6 o'clock go on that day?
Oh, they're on the phone.
So she was on the phone. The other person was on Facebook or some other thing like that, scanning the screen. I don't know what the others were because I couldn't see their screen. But it was amazing. We're on an elevator ride, and
people don't make eye contact.
Yeah, and I was surprised
they don't say hello. They don't listen to the music or look at the screen for the elevator news or anything like that.
They were
just disconnection of the humanity.
And I was going 8 floors. I was surprised that they had connection inside the elevator.
That's right.
So anyway,
they have boosters now inside elevators.
Oh wow! So boosters are not just people who come to your school to raise money for your sports team.
No, or even a shot that you
or
get.
A shot that you get.
Yeah. No.
Or oh wow, okay.
All right.
A new term for boosters.
How did we get into this?
I don't know. You started it.
I did.
This show is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. Jimmy is our resident expert of those
Mack
brands, and he always wears them, and he loves them, and he has great things to say about them.
I do.
Whatever you're wearing right now, Mack Weldon is much better. Mack Weldon believes in smart designs, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. It's the winning formula, ladies and gentlemen. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants you've ever placed on your body. So get on board with the people who know. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. This show is also powered by Little Park Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littleparkmedia.com or contact info@littleparkmedia.com. Bell, please.
Sorry.
Facebook and privacy. A new survey finds young people are getting stricter, even dumping the service to protect their information, while us older folks are flying blind. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So there's no surprise that Facebook is losing users. There's no surprise that Facebook is losing young users. I guess the big surprise was this new survey that came out that says that part of the reason they're losing these young users is because of privacy concerns. At least that appears to be one of the...
I think that's a Facebook spin. And I'm going to tell you why. They lost young people on their platform years ago.
Right.
Not within the last year, not since Cambridge Analytica scandal and all that.
They've been bleeding chips.
Absolutely. But they've been morphing into a major media company. And that is what I think is missing here, because they still reach a ton of people.
Right.
And again, it's an opt-in service. People feel like, I'm always amazed when either you have a birthday or an event in your life,
right,
and people know about it. You hear about people, I didn't know you were on Facebook. I didn't know you were on Facebook. That whole thing.
Right.
And it has more to do, again, with the content that's being served by the people who use Facebook.
Right.
And I think that it will always be used in our world right now because it's an easy platform to use.
It is. But what we're finding now is that young people are very concerned about issues of privacy. And that's, as you were talking about, Cambridge Analytica, information getting out there into the wrong hands. That's a big concern for younger people. There was a survey, it was a Pew Research survey that was done, and according to their findings, just over half of Facebook users ages 18 and older, that's 54%, say they have adjusted their privacy settings in the past 12 months. Now, this is according to Pew Research. I don't even know what the privacy setting is.
Okay. I have.
About 4 in 10, 42%, say that they have taken a break from checking the platform for a period of several weeks or months. And while around a quarter, 26%, say that Facebook app has been deleted from their cell phone. So all told, 74% of Facebook users say that they have taken at least one of these three actions in the past year. And then, of course, the older folks, only a tiny, 12%, a small percentage of them doing anything at all. We're talking 65 and over.
Right, but what we haven't, and I don't qualify for that, just for the record.
And neither do I.
Okay.
Although I'm getting close.
No, I'm getting closer.
Yes.
I'm still closer.
You are closer, yes.
One of the things that, they say they're losing users and all this. Well, do they have a stat for how many people have actually signed up for Facebook for the first time, or are using it for the first time?
So getting new users versus losing the old ones.
What is in? Where is the happy medium there? I can tell you this: there are millions of people using it.
Yes, there are,
and it's one of the reasons why we live stream on it. We like it. It's a simple platform to use.
It's used by businesses. A lot of businesses, companies, corporations are using sponsored
because
content.
Eyeballs are there.
Yes, you can push things to an audience, and it may not be a huge audience for whatever it is you're trying to pitch, but stuff shows up. Here,
remember. Wait, go back 25 years ago. Do you remember if you didn't have a website, you didn't exist?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have a Facebook page, you didn't exist.
Exactly.
A few years ago.
Yes.
What's next? Snapchat,
Instagram, and that's the hedge for Facebook because they own Instagram.
Right.
So they have the one for the old farts,
right,
and they got the one for the young farts,
right.
And so you that's a good hedge for them.
And Snapchat changed and lost some users, but Instagram has maintained its influence.
Seems, as far as I know,
and it's growing.
Because it kind of morphed from just this place that you posted pictures to a place that you could do everything. Communicate with people through it, do live. You can, it still has the disappearing thing like Snapchat. So it has a lot of aspects to it. The stories part of it has been a big hit for them. So it has maintained a pretty steady, based on my small knowledge of this area, which is my son who informs me in all these things. It has been pretty steady, unlike some of the others that have been bleeding chips.
Yeah.
My second reference to bleeding chips. I will say this, back to how they're able to know everything that's happening about you on, stuff popping up in your feed. So we've been looking for RVs recently. So all of a sudden today, I get in my feed a sponsored piece of content from Groupon, which I haven't bought anything from Groupon in 6 years. But all of a sudden, it said, Dan, wouldn't you want to get this, which is half price now, for $11.99 for a mat that you put at your door, a doormat for RVs. And it has a little RV on it, and it says something like, welcome to our RV, our house, or something like that. And I'm like, really? So Groupon must have said, I want to reach all the people who are focused on
for RV
exactly.
in their search
and we want to push this
right.
to them. And I was one of them. That was a little freaky.
But it's been going on for years. I mean,
I'm
Big
going to
Brother's
adjust my
been
privacy
here.
setting.
Yeah, there you go. Well, now you're talking, right? I know you can do that.
Yes.
Or you can use your incognito search function on your. I don't know if you knew you had incognito.
No, I didn't.
But
didn't Incognito write the op-ed piece from the White House?
Yes, that was him, and he's related to Mr. Anonymous. Incognito and Anonymous. They're both.
Yes, they're both brothers or uncle
brothers and
cousins?
sisters. Brothers and sisters of different mothers.
Oh.
Who are also anonymous in unnamed sources. I love making Dan laugh, by the way. And I'm losing it. Laugh too.
I
have like no idea what I'm talking about.
That one, it was so impromptu that it was so silly that it was funny.
That's me.
But yeah, no. Okay, with that we move on.
Are we done with that segment?
I think
Did
we
beat
are.
the crap out of Facebook here?
I think we did.
I like Facebook.
If you think we did and we're successful at that, let us know. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have a question or comment. Reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's time for our news bites, quick hits from some of the other media water cooler stories that we are talking about today. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. Okay, Jimmy, off to the races. Monica Lewinsky. I haven't heard from her in a while.
For those didn't realize that she was on the speaking circuit, by the way.
She is on a speaking circuit.
For those
young listeners who might not know who she is, she is the former intern of former President Bill Clinton, and she was involved in
an oral sex act with the president. Okay? I'm sorry. That's exactly what she was involved
in
with.
the Oval Office. Thank you, Jimmy, for taking that over.
Happy to make that.
And so it has been, she has gone on and done a whole host of different things over the years. I got
to tell you, she had some serious. She had a collapse. I mean, a mental collapse.
But at one point, she was designing handbags. She was on the speaking circuit. She wrote a book. She's done a number of different things.
I think she's made the most out of her internship, let's just say.
Yes, I think she has. And she's been struggling with some things.
Yes.
And I think that she has a pretty good handle, I hope, on her life now.
Yes.
So she's on.
But now the story has evolved into, do you think you're owed a public apology?
Exactly. She's on the show
by Bill Clinton, and he's been asked recently about that too.
Right, and he said that he has apologized in general, and hasn't specifically apologized to hers, but has been sorry.
He hasn't looked at the camera and said, "Monica, I'm really sorry you did that to me."
But even if he said that, would you?
It's a little late.
Well, he's not. I don't think he's sorry about that. But we've heard him. He's looked at the camera before and said he didn't do something, and in fact, he did.
That's right.
I did not have sex with that woman.
Well, it depends on your definition of sex,
That's
which is obviously what he.
That's what he was doing.
Right.
But anyway, she was being interviewed by an Israeli TV news anchor. And it's called
a female.
Yes.
Make sure you mention that. I like
Yonit Levy.
Yonit.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sure it's Yonit. Or Yonit Levy. I'm pretty sure.
So
it looks Hebrew. It is Hebrew.
Yonit.
Yeah. Well,
and it could be Levy or Levi.
No, it's not Levi. I'm pretty sure it's Levy.
Well, there's the tribe of Levi.
Yes, there is.
So it could be
There's
Levi.
also pants.
That would be Levi's.
Right. Oh, that's right.
So
Sorry.
Yonit Levi of or whatever the name is, however it's pronounced.
Hadashat
News. So she goes on to this show, and there were apparently clear parameters. Do not ask about That. Right. Bill Clinton.
Do not ask about that.
Right.
Okay, Monica. And by the way, I'm sure you've had interviews with other people Usually they're surrounded by PR people
Right.
who hand you questions or talking points and say, here's what you could talk about.
Well, no, sort of, but not.
Okay.
When you're doing regular news stories, no, that doesn't happen. If you're an entertainment reporter, I've had that happen. I'm not an entertainment reporter, but I was doing something on some screenwriters for the Today Show. It was a Today Show piece, and I was told not to ask certain things. And I said to the PR person, "You can tell me what to ask, but what not to ask, but I will ask what I want to ask." And so
I won't do the interview.
Or I won't do the interview. So anyway, I did the smart thing. I got my interview.
Yes.
And then I asked the question that I was told I wasn't supposed to ask.
You save it for the end, Dan.
You save it for the end. Now, what's interesting is that they answered the question because they wanted to talk about that. It wasn't even something controversial. It was just that they wanted to keep it on topic, they being the spokesperson. And the screenwriters said it was refreshing to answer a question about something else. I got yelled at afterwards, but I didn't care.
Who'd you get yelled at by?
By the PR person.
Too bad.
Yeah. And the same thing happened to me when I was interviewing Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith one time over in when the president was getting his Nobel Prize. And it was, I got yelled at by the weasel, as I called it. But I don't care. You can't tell me what not to ask.
Right.
I mean, you can tell me what not to ask,
right.
but I'll ask whatever I want.
As a talk show host, I would interview authors and other people that had PR people attached to them, and they would be sending out, here are the topics we'd like you to talk about. And I said, well, that's great. I said, I have some topics that I'd like to talk about too, since it's my show,
right.
and he's coming on my show, and I will be happy to incorporate if I think they're worthy.
Exactly. That's unlike you, Jimmy. That's a political way to. Normally, I would do something like that. You would just say, screw you, this is what I'm going to.
No. I would say that and then say, screw you, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want.
Okay, so you say that and do whatever.
I like it when I can be liked by other people. So I like to do right by others.
That's right, you do. So anyway, there were these parameters, and the reporter or the host went ahead and asked whether or not she's owed an apology. And then Monica Lewinsky says, quote, "I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this." And she gets up and she walks off the set.
Within 15 seconds of the beginning of the interview.
Which the host is a little naive, thinking that you should ask the crazy question right off the top. You get you host Yanni or Yonit. Or Yonit Levy or Levi, and you should get your interview, and then at the end you say, by the way, before we go, and at that point, if she walks off, it's a good ending to your show.
Do you think that you owed a public apology about the former
That's right.
president?
Before we go, I think you've been doing some great. Do you think?
By now, time enough?
And then she'll say, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this, but. At that point, you've done it. So you win. You win as a host. You got what you wanted, and it ends, and it's dramatic, and you make news because they walked off anyway.
Right. Well.
Okay. So many strikes against the host. If she wants some media training, she can call us up, reach out to us, and we'll be able to help out.
That's right. That's Little Park Media. Info at littleparkmedia.com.
That's right. Media endorsements. Do you think they're a big deal whenever a candidate, someone running for office, gets an endorsement from a Boston Globe, a New York Times, and so forth?
And that's very interesting that you mentioned those two newspapers.
Right, yes.
Which I find fascinating in this era of digital news.
Right.
Because, as you know, a lot of people don't think people read the newspaper anymore, or at least they certainly don't hold the paper while they're reading it. They're reading it online on their phones, or they're in the elevator reading it.
Exactly.
Wherever they are when they have their face in their phone. I think endorsements are very important, actually. And I think people, whenever you can, especially in the political race, whenever you can get your name out there. Now, out there can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, but certainly mentioned in a newspaper, picked up by news services.
Right. That's a big deal.
Those are a big deal.
But an endorsement even adds another layer of almost credibility, and it says to those who are on the fence, okay, if they would endorse them, then they wouldn't endorse a crook or a criminal. So okay, I'll vote for that person.
And we're talking about a primary election day, that happened here in Massachusetts.
Ayanna Pressley,
right?
She is not a political outsider because she's been involved in state and local politics now for quite some time, but she was certainly an outsider in terms of whether or not she could pull off a 10-year incumbent.
Right.
Who has been entrenched in this 4th congressional district, and there was not a single poll that showed that he had
had anything to worry about.
Until he did.
Right.
And then it was too late because it was an 18-point oops.
Yeah, which is amazing. It tells you something about the polls.
Exactly.
They're not asking the right people the right questions.
Exactly. But I think what people said, some of the experts out there, is that not only did she tap into sort of that grassroots, what the Obama campaign was very effective at doing, so she sort of tapped into that. But in addition, she got a late endorsement from the Boston Globe. And it was almost as if, people were saying, okay,
she must be legit.
She must be legit. Now, explain for me, this is the behind the media part, Jimmy, and some people are out there going, well, what is a newspaper doing endorsing a candidate when they're supposed to be unbiased and impartial in their reporting?
Well, there are reports,
Yes.
and then there are editorials.
And they're not the same thing.
No, they're not. One is an opinion piece, and one is a factual depiction of a story.
So don't sit at home and say, that's why I say those people are biased. Those reporters.
Good luck to you.
It ain't the same thing.
It's called guilt by association.
Yeah, people
or
don't
guilt
see
by publication.
Right. People. Oh, nice.
You like that?
Very nice.
Off the top of my head.
It's hard for people to see that. Oh, I see somebody raising their hand over there. Stephen?
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Yes.
So I did just learn this the other day.
Yes.
Our college student.
Our
Yes.
newspapers are allowed to endorse. It's TV stations and radio stations
That don't.
aren't allowed.
But
They
I
can't.
but
Well, it's funny. I've seen general managers of TV stations. I remember.
I don't know that they've endorsed a candidate. They endorsed things.
Questions.
They'll have questions and so forth. They can't
right.
TV
Ballot
stations
questions and that sort of thing,
Yes.
but not necessarily candidates.
They don't
Okay.
endorse a candidate. I've seen them with ballot questions and different things, but I didn't know that they were not allowed
and is
to. I
that-
thought it was just a policy.
Is that the equal time thing?
Yes, it's the
It's
equal
gotta
time.
be the
yeah,
equal
the
time
equal
thing.
time thing. So they no endorsement, but newspapers do it. But people still get confused. I always hold to the fact that most people don't see the difference between opinion pieces and news pieces. I just don't think they do. And I think it's harder to know nowadays.
You know where else there's a middling of that line, whatever, muddling of
yeah.
that is talk show hosts.
Yes.
Talk show hosts.
Like on Fox News, for example, in the primetime part.
I don't
Hannity.
care if it's Fox. I don't care if it's CNN. I don't care if it's sports radio. I don't care. They are opinion sharers.
Yes, they are.
They are not reporters.
No, they're not. Even though sometimes they're used as reporters.
Or they used to be reporters.
Yes.
And that's what people can't distinguish in their own brain. It's like, oh no, you gotta be you were a newspaper reporter once.
I was until I wasn't.
Until I wasn't. Now I'm a talk show host. Leave me alone.
Yes.
Okay?
I do some
Matter
of
of
that.
fact, click, you're off the air. I mean, that's the epitome of an opinion.
That is
and you're
it.
supposed to share it on the talks. That's the whole point
But
of
not
talk
as a
shows.
reporter. So there are differences. If you're sitting at
Yes.
home and criticizing, stop it right now. Cut it out. Two different things. I know you'll keep doing it, but cut it out. Okay, finally, Twitch.
Twitch. Now, not something I'm familiar with.
So if you're a gamer out there.
That's why I'm not familiar with it.
I'm not a gamer either.
Yep.
Stephen, are you a gamer?
Yes.
So you knew about Twitch.
Yes.
Very popular? Mm-hmm.
Have you ever used it?
Not to stream, but I have watched people on it.
Okay, so
Watch
there you go.
people Twitch.
Watch. I've seen people
Sometimes
Twitch.
they do that.
Not
They
sure you
do.
want to do that,
Right.
Steve. All right.
So,
anyway.
Twitch, it's very popular. Again, we're
Okay.
not familiar with it, but why we're talking about it is that there are now efforts by traditional media streams, the Washington Post, for example, and Reuters. They are streaming content into Twitch. The reason for that is because of the startling statistic I told you about, Jimmy. How long do they stay on the
93 minutes?
95, I believe.
Okay,
but certainly
95
90 minutes plus.
Well, because
on
it
the
takes a
site.
time to play a game.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So these guys, mostly males, spend a whole lot of time on the site. So you've got a captive audience. So they're piping in news content and other kind of content, streaming it in through that platform.
And advertisers and advertising agencies and companies are always looking for a way to reach a specific audience
Yes, indeed.
outside the norm. And Twitch, at this point, has been outside the norm. But
For
once,
news organization, yes.
correct. But
definitely for
once you
advertising.
have a mass audience, that audience will be monetized.
Yes, and this is a highly engaged audience.
Right, and
which is
that's
what you want.
Right, because I think anybody who's ever watched real TV, traditional is a better word.
I think there's a show called Real TV.
old,
Yeah.
reality TV, but
there's that, too.
traditional
That's
television
what's going on right now in America.
has commercials in it, and 22 minutes and 30 seconds of content in a 30-minute show that allows you 6 minutes and 30 seconds worth of advertising time.
Ooh, that's math. That's some heavy math.
Well, I've produced a few 30-minute shows in my day, so I actually remember these things. Hard to believe, I know. But point being, how do you reach that audience and get your message out? Well, sure enough, Twitch has figured this out, and there are others out there like Kellogg's and EA and our friends at KFC.
Oh, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Old Spice and Duracell are some who are taking advantage of it, and they're using very typical pre-roll ads. We've all seen them whenever we've clicked on a media to see a video. Mid-roll in the middle, they just drop it right in, or post-roll. Now, Steve, is there a way to pay on Twitch to opt out of getting commercial messages?
Not that I know of.
Because you can do that on Netflix.
It might be if you have the. I don't really know. I can do a search on it.
You can do it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Actually, I did mean to put you on the spot.
Of course, that's why you did it.
Exactly why I did it.
Yes.
Because you know more about it than I do. The point being, though, I'm going out on a limb thinking that Twitch will now offer an opt-out revenue stream to their audience.
Could be.
If you'd like to opt out of our commercials, you must pay
that
$5 a month to your subscription.
It all depends. If they're making enough money from not having the opt-out, by the revenue that they can get, because then it just means...
But that's just another revenue stream, Dad.
Right, but if it would seem that some companies may not pay the kind of prices they will if your audience is... They might say, what are your opt-out metrics?
If you have 1,000 people...
Yes.
Okay? 1,000 people.
Right.
You can put a cost on that 1,000 and turn it into a lot of money if you're delivering millions of people.
Well, what if that 1,000 people now comes out of your numbers? So now you have to lower the cost of that sponsorship by 1,000, and that translates into the same amount of money.
But you can still deliver the same amount of eyeballs because you're going to do it over a longer period of time. Where in traditional television, you only had that half-hour window.
Stephen has the answer.
Alrighty.
Yes. Can you opt out?
No, because it's directly in the stream.
Ah, there you go.
So
it's coming in from wherever the stream is.
Puts the ads into the stream.
So you can't opt out of someone else. Yes, puts it in.
It's up to the streamer mainly of like
whatever the content is.
Advertisement revenue or not.
Ah, very good. That's what we like about this. We get the facts in real time,
which we think that are facts.
Well,
we're putting a lot of
Put the disclaimer out there, though.
That's right.
We did not do the research and so forth,
no,
but based on information that exactly.
Can I tell you about another way?
Yes,
another way to reach a lot of people outside the traditional forms of media.
Go to a tall building and scream.
No, because then if the tree falls, no one hears it. If there's no one in the woods, right? It doesn't make a sound. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. What?
I digress. I'm only kidding. I was trying to make a metaphorical, whatever I was trying to do. I wanted to segue. That too. Yeah. I wanted to segue into the podcast universe.
Yes.
Because I'm learning more and more about podcasts because, as you know, our podcast is distributed on the CLNS Media Network.
I didn't know that.
I know you knew that.
Okay.
And there's a new study out by Westwood One, which is also... interesting about
they do a lot of sports
because they're out there do a lot of sports, right? But very little research has been done on the advertising environment within podcasts. U.S. podcast ad revenue totaled $314 million in 2017, an 86% upswing from the previous year, and will grow to nearly $660 million by 2020.
Huge.
That is a huge jump.
Yes, it
is.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the idea is people are using podcasts. They're opting in because people are tuning out from traditional radio, tuning away from traditional TV. They still have time on their hands to consume media, and they can pick what they want to listen to.
Yes, indeed. No, I think it's good.
We all do think it's good.
We like it because we're part of it, but even before we became part of it, I've been intrigued by podcasting.
And interesting enough, I know the CLNS Media Group has 75% of their audience is between 18 and 34 and is male, but this podcast research study also came up with women are now listening to more podcasts than they were last year. So it obviously has a lot to do with the appeal of the Behind the Media show with Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young, because women like our voices.
They love our voices.
Yes, they do.
Hello, ladies.
Where is Barry White when I need him?
Yeah, baby.
I need to get some respiratory infection. Sorry.
So anyway,
That's
we
my
hope
thoughts.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed the bites, and we hope you enjoyed the bigger meal. Either way, we enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks for listening and enjoying this podcast. We know you did. Like it, share it, keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, who you also hear his voice from time to time in the background, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.